Welcome, folks. Tonight is July 27, 2009. This is a public hearing for the City of Lowell Zoning Board of Appeals. Anybody wishing to address the board tonight, when your time comes, please do so at the podium and sign your name and state your name and your address for the record so we don't have to interrupt you. Would appreciate that. There are several petitions on tonight, and I'm going to take the agenda somewhat out of order for various reasons. The first one I'm going to take is the one that's going to stay in order. That's B3 Development. That's ZB 2009-17, a request for special permit by B3 Development, Brian Logue, 63 Varnum Ave. This is a traditional single-family district, and the petitioner would like to expand the legal non-conforming use of an existing two-family to a three-family according to Section 4.5.2 of the zoning code. And this matter was continued from the last several meetings ago. It was continued until this date. In the interim, there was a request made for a legal opinion as to the viability of the project and whether it met the legal criteria for this board to be able to issue either a special permit or a variance. As it turns out, this board lacks the authority to grant a change in use. In other words, they are looking for a two-family to become a three-family, and from a recent change in the city ordinance, that is no longer allowed. That's considered a change of use, and as many of you probably know, this board does not have the authority to grant use changes. So that a letter was drafted and sent to the attorney of record as well as the applicant. The attorney of record was away from his office and has recently returned and had sent a facsimile requesting a 2-week continuance so he can look into this issue. Out of fairness to the applicant, he just got this letter, and he does have to do his due diligence and check it out, and they're asking to be put on the agenda for the next regularly scheduled meeting, which I believe, Corey, is
August the 10th, 2009.
August 10th, 2009. So we'll add into the record the letter from the City of Lowell Inspectional Services signed by the Building Commissioner, Mr. Robert Camacho, dated July 17th, 2009, where it's copied Attorney James Hall, myself, Stephen Geary is the chairman, and the ZBA file. Also into the record will be a letter from Attorney James Hall, dated today, July 17, 2009, requesting a 2-week continuance for the reasons I just discussed. So we'll open up to the board for consideration. Bill, any comments?
No comments, Mr. Chairman.
Jack?
Only comment I would make, in light of the letter from the Commissioner and apparently consulting the law offices, I really don't have any comment. This is pretty self-explanatory. I don't know if we're going to enter it into public record, so it will be accessible for anyone who wants to see it, correct?
It will be, of course.
Thank you.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chairman. I'm in agreement with Mr. Knox. It looks like a pretty complex situation here, and it's out of our hands, but I am willing to give the petitioners 2 weeks that he may be able to work it out.
And Rick, anything?
No comment, Mr. Chairman. All set.
Okay. Anybody here wishing to speak regarding this continuance? Welcome. Step up, sir. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is John Hamlet. It's 495 Varnum Avenue. In reviewing the tapes of our meeting of May 27th, one of the things that was most striking is that a special permit was requested on the basis that the changes the developer making were less detrimental. However, that is not what a special permit says. A special permit states that the use must be less detrimental. He can put new siding, new insulation, new paint, new roof, new garden, new sidewalks. But if the use is more detrimental, then the special permit would have to be denied.
And sir, just for your information, that is outlined in the letter from Mr. Camacho.
I'm sorry?
That issue is highlighted in the letter from Mr. Camacho that will be made part of the public record.
That's wonderful. And then secondly, the Pawtucketville Citizens Council did take a vote on this issue as to whether we support the developer or not. And the citizens of Pawtucketville are unanimously opposed by vote to this development going from 2 to 3 families. Thank you very much.
Okay, anybody else wish to speak in favor or in opposition to this issue of the continuance? Okay, hearing none, the public hearing on that issue is closed, and I need a vote, a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to continue to August the 10th, 2009.
Second.
Okay, roll call, Stephanie, please.
Continue to August, what's the date?
10th.
10th.
Continue?
Continue to August 10th.
Continue to August 10th.
Continue to August 10th.
Okay, the matter's been continued to August 10th, 2009. That's our next regularly scheduled meeting. Anybody wishing to address the board in regard to this issue is welcome to attend that evening. Thank you. Okay, the next petition on the agenda is Duval, but considering the anticipated length of that proposal, we have a relatively short one next, and that is ZB 2008-11. That's just an administrative review of a previously granted relief on 117 Rogers Street to allow home occupation within the proposed addition. Is anybody here? Mr. Camacho?
I've been in touch with the owner, and that project hasn't even gotten off the ground yet, so there is nothing to review at this point.
Okay,
I would
so,
suggest continuing that for whatever length of time the board
yeah,
deems
I think,
appropriate.
I think if we do a 2-year continuance, if she wants to go forward with it in that time frame, I think that, you know, we'll hear about it. If she doesn't want to, then it'll elapse, and that I think that's fair to everybody.
That sounds good.
So, anybody want to speak on this? Bill? Jack? Corey?
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman. No
And
comment.
Rick?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the building commissioner. Bob, will her permits lapse or her
No, actually, she came in for a variance, which is good for 2 years.
2 years?
And she hasn't applied for a permit yet. I guess there were some other issues that she's dealing with first, so she doesn't even have a permit. So I would suggest to put this on the agenda for probably within the next, well, as long as the variance is good, and that would be, I'm sorry, the special permit, and that would be 2 years. After that, it expires, unless she comes in with a written application or request to extend.
So it will expire this time next year?
Approximately, yes.
Okay. No problem. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, need a motion to continue it for 2 years.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Commissioner does have another comment.
Well, yeah, I think that it wouldn't be the 2 years. At this point in time, she's good, the special permit's good for 1 more year.
So I thought you said she didn't pull a permit.
She didn't. She hasn't pulled a permit yet, but the special permit is only good for 24 months.
Has she recorded it?
I don't recall. But she hasn't, we don't have that information because she never applied for the permit yet.
All
The
right.
variance, technically, I'm sorry, the special permit is good for 2 years, and we're already into that for 12 months. And that commences the day this board approves it, whether
Okay.
it's recorded or not at that particular point in time. So
Well,
the
she
clock
can always
was-
come in after a year and then ask for another continuance if that's the
If
case.
she comes in before it
reapply.
expires, she can just simply give us a written request to extend it, and she has that option, yes.
Okay,
So I think I wouldn't refer to the 24 months, because that's the length of the special permit. She's into it for 12 at this point, so I'd recommend that you extend it, have her come up for a review within, I would say 10 or 12, let's say 12 months, or
A year?
a month prior to it expiring.
okay, how about just a month prior to expiration?
So approximately 11 months.
I don't know what that exact date is, but a month prior to the expiration, we can dig up the date.
The approval was granted, excuse me, Mr. Chairman. The approval was granted on 7/28, so you're talking 2 years from that date, correct?
Correct.
So that would be July of
2010.
So
Correct.
we'd be looking for a review to take place sometime in June.
Right, I would expect that and/or a request to extend the permit in writing. So that would be a good date to shoot for, July of 2010.
June of 2030.
I agree. I think it should be June, because if it's July, if she comes in, doesn't get on the agenda before that, it will expire
Agreed.
as a matter of law. So, a motion to continue until June of 2010.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to continue till June of 2010.
Second.
Roll call, Stephanie, please.
Continue to June of 2010.
Continue.
Continue into June 2010.
Continue to June 2010.
Continue to June 2010.
Okay, that matter has been unanimously continued into June 2010. Anybody wishing to speak in favor or in opposition is welcome to attend the meeting on or about June of 2010. Okay, the next petition I'm going to take before Duville is ZB 2009-31, a request for a variance by Paul and Lisa Kelly, 14 Hazel Street. This property is located in a suburban, single-family district, and the petition would like to construct a farmer's porch without the required front yard setback according to Article 5, Section 5.1 of the code. Would somebody, petitioner, please step up and address the board? Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Hi. Please
I'm
state your
Lisa-
name, ma'am, and your address.
I'm Lisa Salata, and this is,
I'm David Kelly.
and we're from 14 Hazel Street.
Okay. And just so you know, this is being taped at home, so only one of you can speak at the podium at the time. It's not going to come on either unless you speak directly into it.
Okay.
Apologize for the inconvenience, but that's
Sorry.
really the way. Okay, now just read into the record a memorandum from the city engineer's office. I don't know whether you got a copy of this. Hopefully you did. It's the engineer, Lisa DeMayo, is letting us know that this property currently has asphalt covering on 100% of the front yard in violation of the city zoning, and during several site visits, vehicles have been witnessed parked in the front yard. The width of the curb cut being implemented exceeds what is allowed by city zoning. If the variance is granted, the applicant will not have sufficient space to park off-street. To ensure this, they must adjust the curbing to provide a sidewalk on street parking spaces and appropriate width curb cut. Also, if the variance is granted, the applicant will be required to address the discharge from the roof leaders as not to run off onto the street. Were you able to see that in advance?
No.
Okay. That's unfortunate, but, well,
That wasn't
why don't you
mailed
come up and take my copy, and one of you can look at it while the other one's,
The commissioner just gave her one, Mr. Chairman.
okay. I guess my question to you, when you bought this property, was it in that condition?
Yes.
Okay, so you,
We purchased it, and both railings they're both hanging off. One of them fell off. And there's, as indicated by our insurance company and our home inspector, our front stairs are a safety hazard because there's insufficient area at the top slab.
no, I
for
saw
one or
that.
more
Yeah, that's
people.
clearly.
You open the door, someone's going to fall off. And, you know, they're just very narrow, and we're getting married this year, and we plan to have children. And we put a lot of work into this house, and we just, you know, we were told we had to adjust the stairs somehow. So, you know, this was, you know, the best thing we could come up with that would beautify the neighborhood and, you know, put an adequate porch on that would be safe for someone to come in and out of our home, especially children. On our street, there's a lot of fighting going on because it's a small street and there's no parking. You know, no one has yards, there's no parking. So if we had a park not in front of our house and on the street, there's no parking, we'd be in front of other neighbors' homes, and they don't have enough space for them to park. So parking's a big issue on our street, especially when the snow comes, because the plow doesn't plow our street properly or even at all sometimes, and there's a lot of kids and we're on a hill, so there's just a big problem with parking. So the owners before us, which was in fact David's brother, they tarred the front just to make it more convenient for them and the neighborhood.
No, I mean, clearly, the parking is very tight there, and what you're proposing is not going to make that parking any worse. But I think what the engineer is just bringing to your attention, and my feeling was that you bought this in that condition, but the entire front yard is paved.
It is. And the proposed porch would actually, as you can see, we decided not to rip up the pavement. If we came out 6 feet, the bottom 3 stairs would completely stay there. And we were just going to paint the bottom 3 stairs and put flower pots on them. So the porch is not going to come out any further than that planter that is already there. That is 6 feet. So, you know, we decided to take out the window, put a flat window, and the planter is already there. So the porch will just be above it. We're not ripping out we're not ripping out any stairs, or the bottom 3 stairs are staying there. So the cars will still fit there like they are now. Nothing will be changed in that retrospect. I mean, right now, you can have us park, we can not have a porch, and we can park on the street right now, but it's just gonna cause, it would be the same thing. We're just gonna cause problems.
No, I understand your situation. I mean, at least from my perspective, the proposed farmer's porch has nothing really to do with these issues, but I think while she was out there, she saw these issues
Sure.
and brought them to our attention. It's really not our job to enforce them.
Sure.
You're here for a farmer's porch, and I do have the signed petition of roughly 50-something names from everybody around the neighborhood that I did get. That
We
will be
did. We got
made-
every abutter within a 300-foot radius.
And they all, for the record, all these abutters support the position.
They do not oppose to us putting on a porch. And also, let me just address, if I may, that both neighbors, both abutting neighbors, have one, to my left, has a closed-in farmer's porch, which I believe comes out 4.7 feet from my home. And on the opposite side, the right side, there's an extended front porch, an extended front room, and a porch. So if we were allowed to have our front porch, it would align all 3 houses. And I know theirs probably predates, you know, these rules, but...
Right, no, I think the porch aesthetically it will look much better than the planter. I don't see how it impacts anything other than what you're doing right now anyway. Clearly, it's, you know, not going to have any kind of adverse impact on the neighborhood, but to the contrary, it's going to enhance the neighborhood, but...
We spent a lot of time and money on it. We went through the right procedures. We just wanted to do something nice. We went to get a permit, and obviously we do not meet the front setback, so we were not approved a permit. We thought we would. We bought $3,000 worth of Trex and vinyl, so not only is it gonna look, you know, beautiful in the neighborhood, but it's gonna be safe, you know, for our family. And, you know, I think that's what every homeowner wants. It's our first home. We worked hard on the inside for a whole year. You know, we're trying to work hard on the outside, and, you know, we're just off a couple feet. So we're just asking for a little leniency on that for something nice.
Well, I do think you meet the criteria. I think the way your lot is shaped and the way your house faces and relative to everybody else's lot around there, I think you do meet the requirements. But how would you address the issue where she brings up about the discharge from the roof leaders so the water doesn't run off into the street? Normally what would happen in the front yard, water comes off the house, it goes into the ground where there's dirt and fill and grass, and it goes into the ground, and it either replenishes itself there, or sometimes there's a way to, you know, discharge it or control where it goes. In this case, it would, if it hits pavement, it's just going to roll out into the street naturally because that's down gradient.
Sure.
So how would you address that issue?
As it stands right now, there's no gutters. That roof is a brand-new 2-foot roof. Our original plan was not to put a farmer's porch. It was just to have the bottom porch. When we went to apply for a permit, they said we needed to have, you know, the 17-foot setback, and also it needed to be a farmer's porch. So that's additional cost for us, because our 2-foot roof is brand new, and it doesn't as it is now, doesn't have any gutters on it. So we weren't anticipating that. We're doing what they want us to. So if we are approved a 6-foot deck, and we have to do a 6-foot roof, that's fine. So we didn't even think about that at all. I didn't have this paperwork, but as you just said that, my father is a carpenter. I can, think that most people would probably put a gutter going across the front of the roof, and then it could tilt down on the right side of the house, and all right there on the right side of the house is there's all rock there. We just put all rock. So it can easily, it's a big retaining wall, and we put rock in there. So if it just traveled, because we're on an incline, so that's very easy to do either way, the water would tilt down the gutter, and it would go into the rock on the side of the house, the retaining wall. So, and that's already fully enclosed in. So either way we put the gutter, it's still going to go on the side of the house into, the retaining wall full of rock, or into a dirt flower bed.
Well, I think the point is to keep it off the pavement,
Oh,
and
yeah.
thereby keeping it off the street. Do you think that would be sufficient, Bob?
There's not a problem now. There's no gutters on it pre-existing before we bought it. And there's so much driveway that it doesn't even come close to the street at all. And it wouldn't point that way either, because we're at the top of the hill. So if water was going to slide off, it would go to the side, to the neighbor's yard. It couldn't go, water can't go straight, because we're at the top of the hill.
Well, I mean, I'd be satisfied if you agreed to put the gutters towards the side of the house where it can be more easily absorbed.
Sure.
Where the crushed stone is, Mr. Chairman? To
I
the
believe
right-
so, yeah.
to the right? I would be fine with that as well.
Okay, is there anything else you'd like to say, ma'am?
No, I think I brought up most of the issues.
Okay, sir, is there anything you'd like to say?
No, I'm all set.
Okay, and we may have some other questions for
Sure.
you, so I'll just open it up to the, well, first let me see if anybody, before I open it up to the public, anybody have anything to say? Bill?
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of points or observations. First of all, I'd like to thank you for the package you put together. It's,
We worked so hard on it.
well, I certainly appreciate when a petitioner puts a package like this together. It lessens the number of questions I need to ask. And I think a lot of the questions the chairman had asked, I pretty much had the same issues. I visited the site. Obviously, it's a street that it's very highly condensed with housing. The issue around the parking, I was kind of curious how we would handle that. If you couldn't park where you have existing parking today, how we would handle that. I didn't know if the commissioner would chime in on that, or if that would even come up at time of permit. But I really have no issues with the project, Mr. Chairman. I think they show pride in the ownership of their property. They want to increase the value. They have a family coming, and I would fully support the petitioner as long as these other conditions can be met, I guess. Thank you.
Okay, Jack?
I agree with my fellow board member, with Mr. Bailey. The only concern I would have would be if the property is in violation currently of city zoning, are we allowed to even vote until those violations are correct? That would be the first question I would have.
I think we can vote. So I don't think there's anything that precludes us from taking a vote on the petition. This is a comment from the engineer's office. There's no citation issued or anything that I'm aware of.
So this is an observation made by the engineer. In his opinion, the front yard is in violation of city zoning, and that's something that it hasn't been cited, so we are legally allowed to vote on this.
Right, there's nothing that I'm aware of that precludes us from taking a vote on this project. I think part of that is usually screened in the application process before it gets to the board, and there's a checklist, and for whatever reason, it's before us tonight. I think maybe one issue is because it was a pre-existing condition, Not sure if that's the issue of, you know, why there wasn't any citation or anything issued. And again, it's, you know, I see a lot of those single-family homes in different areas of the city that are completely paved. So it was the first time that I was even aware that that was a violation. So I don't think there's anything that precludes us from taking a vote tonight. And certainly there's nothing before us that tells us that we can't take this vote, so.
The width of the curb cut exceeding, would that be a condition that we would also want to implement prior to approval, along with, obviously, the drainage from the house?
It could be, I have no problem with that issue at all, just leaving it alone, because it was a pre-existing condition, but that's just my opinion. If the other board members feel differently, they can impose whatever reasonable conditions that they feel are necessary.
I do agree with Mr. Bailey. I think the preparation on behalf of the petitioner was terrific. Obviously, the only thing I want to address is to make sure whatever we do is going to help her and not hurt her down the road. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Jack. Corey?
Yes, to you, Mr. Chairman. A question for the petitioner. Now, how far does the planter come out from the house as it stands right now? Is that 6 feet as well?
It is 6 feet.
Okay, so you're not, I just want to make sure that if this does get approved, that the porch won't be a detriment to you, as Mr. Knox stated. I don't want to
Sure.
see you lose off-street parking that you do have in an
Sure.
already congested street as a result of this. So I just want to ensure that, you know, Mr. Chairman, and maybe you can confirm this, that she's still, her off-street parking still will remain.
I don't think, I think that's the point. It's, from what you have right now, what you're proposing does not change anything.
No, because we both drive small cars, and the porch is just going to go over the planter with 3 steers, the bottom 3 steers still staying there. So it's going to be exactly the same. The cars will be exactly the same. If there was a problem with the cars, then I guess we'd have to park one, you know, at the end of our driveway sideways, which causes a lot of problem. And then the other one would end up being on the side of our house, right near a telephone pole wedged in on the side. So it would come all the way up. But I mean, it would be, that is more of a problem to the neighbors than a porch. You know, the porch.
That's the way I look at
it.
it. It appears to me as though, you know, the way it is now, maybe the intention was to alleviate the parking problem
Yeah.
and not add to it. So, you know, if the proposal is to extend the farmer's porch no further than what's already there for the planter, I see no negative impact on any parking that you have at all. It's just going to improve how your house looks.
Exactly.
And it's going to improve how the neighborhood looks. And it has to look better than what the planter looks right now.
Yeah.
Yes, okay, yes, Mr.
And
Chairman.
I do want to say that when we did walk around for signatures to everyone in a 300-foot radius, the people who are actually parking on the street that live on Route 38 on Roger Street, they have nowhere to park, so they park on our street. But their house isn't even on Hazel Street. So that was their question. They said, are you still going to be able to fit 2 cars there? Because they're worried that they can't park where they've been parking all along, which technically it's not, their house isn't on that street, you know, but they live on Route 38. There's no parking. So that was their big thing. I mean, everyone was so, you know, happy about the porch because it'd be something really pretty, but that was their question, to make sure we could still park where we're parking.
Right, I've lived in that neighborhood all my life, and I know that the parking on that street has always been a tough spot, and somehow everybody makes do. There's been no real huge issues over there, and I don't see how this petition has any negative effect on the street parking. If what the engineer is saying is, if she interprets your farmer's porch as going out so far as to not allow you to park in your driveway anymore, then creating a burden to the off-street parking. I understand that, but that's not the case.
Exactly.
So sometimes when they look at these petitions, there's questions that you're not there to answer.
Sure.
So there's certain assumptions that are made, and that's the whole purpose of the public hearing, so you can explain those things to us.
Exactly.
So I'm satisfied with that.
And as well am I, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to ensure that the farmer's porch is coming 6 feet from the house, not from the planter.
6 feet from the
Right.
house.
Okay, well, that's my biggest concern.
Yeah,
I am
and it will
fine with
come out to exactly where the planter comes out to, not any further.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, no further questions. Thank you.
Rick?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the building commissioner, Bob, is there any possibility that the engineer's gonna go over there and enforce this? I mean, if they enforce what the engineer, city engineers, sent us for a letter, they're not gonna be able to park anything over there. I mean, they basically they cross the sidewalk and they park over the sidewalk edge, which I don't know. I mean, I think this is a great idea, great opportunity to, make the house appear better for the neighborhood and stuff. It's not any detriment, but if through this letter from the engineer's office that they go over and enforce this, this is gonna choke down their driveway and so on over there. I mean, it's gonna put a detriment on their parking. It's gonna put a car on the street.
Now, Mr. Chairman, is it possible that the engineer is interpreting this as coming out 6 feet from the planter, and that's why we have this kind of correspondence? Is that, you think?
Well, I don't know, I mean, I didn't want to get into it, but I disagree with the engineer, because clearly by the picture, 100% of the front yard is not paved. You have a planter there that goes out 6 feet, so I'm not really sure what her determination that 100% of the front yard is paved, because clearly from what we're all looking at, 100% of the front yard is not paved, so I don't think she has any authority to issue a violation for that, unless there's something that says that if it's 75%, I'm not sure of the details of that, but...
Chairman, I'm sorry.
Under the zoning regulations, we would enforce the zoning on pavement. Engineering oversees and has jurisdiction on what gets paved and the quantity. I mean, it's more of an issue for inspectional services as to the amount of pavement that's there. In referring to Rick's question, I think that one of the issues here is with the curb cut is over and above what's normally expected. I'm not sure how that could be corrected, and I can't speak for the engineering department. I think the water issue, the drainage can be dealt with in a couple of different ways, and I think that's really important, because if conditions are right, a considerable amount of water in concentrated amounts will end up on the street, and things could ice up really quick in between trucks going by with salting, and that's happened in the past, and we've had a couple of serious accidents, but I think that can be addressed. With regards to the other engineering comments, I think I'd be reluctant to say much. I'd leave that to the engineering department.
Okay. Okay, so I think that, I think that we could we could vote on this one way or the other, and then the applicant can work with the Inspectional Services Department, the Building Department for your permits, and these issues can be addressed. We would, I think what I'm hearing from the board is one definite condition would be that the runoff from the house is addressed, and, I'm not sure where the best place to put it is, but you can...
There may be some options there from what I can see from the pictures and everything, and
Right.
I think that's really important, but I think it can be addressed, meeting of the mind, so to speak. I think we can come into some sort of agreement, even with engineering, that there's a way of channeling some of that water in an appropriate way.
Okay.
As far as the curb cuts go and everything else, I think that's something we should defer to the engineering department.
Okay. So that would leave us with taking the vote and having the applicant, as a condition, address it with the engineer's office, because that may end up in a stalemate, or is it maybe better off to have a brief 2-week continuance and have a meeting of the minds?
Addressing it as a condition to the engineering office leaves it kind of open-ended, because there's no definitive way as to how this would end up.
Right. There's no answer, really.
Correct, and if that's a condition, that doesn't lock these folks into a definitive conclusion, other than the fact that once they've addressed it to the engineering office, I don't think there's much beyond that this board could do. I'm reluctant to even recommend using that as a condition, even though there is a violation there. In this particular case, again, this is a little bit unique. I'd be reluctant to use the engineering's comments as a condition of granting the approval. I'll also say that I have to agree with the chairman that I think whether the porch goes up or not, the conditions outside that engineering's concerned with haven't changed, or won't change.
Right, it wouldn't, there's no, all the applicant's doing is asking for something that's not going to affect an ongoing situation. It wouldn't seem fair for the applicant to come in and ask for this and then say, okay, but by the way, do all this that should have been done by the prior owner. I don't, you know, that's...
I'm confident in requesting the applicant address the runoff, because I think that's really important for safety reasons.
Yeah.
Not only on the lot, but off the lot. But beyond that, I'd be reluctant to put any other conditions on there that, I think it's just a situation where engineering needs to deal with this on a separate basis.
Okay. And that's my feeling too. I think as long as we address the runoff, I think it's sufficient. Okay. Anybody here wishing to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? Please step up to the podium, sir. State your name and address.
Frank Provencher, 530 Roger Street.
Good evening, sir.
I'm one of the abutters on both sides of them, actually, in front and back on Laurel and Hazel Street, and I think what they're proposing is pretty nice, to be honest with you. It's not going to impact, if anything, it gets 2 cars off the road in the winter, that they do have a serious problem there. I addressed my problem on one of my buildings with gutters right to the backyard. Might have ran 40 feet of gutters, but took care of the problem, because I was getting water in the basement. And just a runoff on the side, this is going to be runoff in the front, but if you can run it down the back, they all have a yard, right, all grass.
Yeah.
So I just think that it would be a nice accent to the neighborhood. I thought it was a heck of a nice
And you've been there a
job.
while, sir?
1981.
Okay. All right, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Anybody else wish to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? And hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Anybody here wishing to speak in opposition? In opposition, and hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Any other comments by the board members? Bill, anybody? Okay, I need a motion.
Mr. Chairman, do we want to make a condition for the drainage system? For the,
I think that's what we discussed. I think
Leave it
the
to me.
condition we talked about was that the applicant address the water runoff with the building department, and make satisfactory proposals to address that issue.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve with the following condition, that the petitioner meet with the building commissioner to address the drainage issue that would be satisfactory to his department, and get maybe a gutter system that would drain to the side rear of the home. I'm no expert, but we'll put, you will need that, the commissioner's blessings to go forward.
Okay,
Second.
and roll call, Stephanie, please.
Approved with conditions.
Approve with conditions?
Approve with conditions?
Approved with conditions.
Approve with conditions.
Okay, you've been unanimously approved. You just need to come up and sign one of these documents and hand it to Stephanie. Good luck with your project.
Thank you. At the end.
Just sign and date this, ma'am. Okay, to the representatives of Duville, thank you for your patience tonight. You're the last petition on. That is ZB 2009, number 30. A petition for a variance, Duville Senior Care, Inc., Matthew S. Kittner, 981 Varnum Ave. This is a suburban single-family district, and the petitioner would like to maintain an existing structure and to construct an addition without the required side yard setbacks on a lot to be subdivided for Duville Senior Care according to Article 5, Section 5.1, the Table of Dimensional Requirements of the zoning ordinance. Welcome, sir.
Good evening. My name is R. Paul Faxon. I'm the attorney for Duville Senior Care. My office is at 245 Winter Street in Waltham. And I have with me today a team that will speak before the board, including our civil engineer who will go over the zoning compliance plan, our architect, and I also have representatives from Duville here. As you stated, Mr. Chairman, at this point in time, we're simply looking for a variance from the 10-foot wide side yard. To put this project in context, we've already had a pre-application hearing before the planning board, and you should have in front of you in your package a recommendation from the planning board recommending approval for this variance, and also acknowledging that we will complete our site plan review with the planning board next, and then come back to this board for a special permit to expand a non-conforming use. So that's the sequence, and the reason for that sequence is that there's another set of approvals involved here, and they relate to the State Department of Public Health and what a so-called determination of need, which this healthcare facility needs. In order to submit that package, we need to have the variance first. We don't need site plan review, we don't need a special permit, but we need that variance first. That's a time-sensitive and lengthy process, and this is a perfect time to get started given financing and construction related realities. So we have been working with the building commissioner, we've been working with Aaron Clausen and other members of the planning department staff to come up with this sequence that would meet the spirit of the zoning code. In terms of this specific variance, what we have here and that will be laid out for you is a transitional care and hospice project that will be added to the existing Duville facility and be an integral part of that healthcare campus. As will be set forth in more detail, this addition will be an interdependent part of the project. It will actually include the kitchen for the entire facility, which is going to be moved there, as well as integrating staff and the like for this facility. Therefore, we need a physical connection between this new building and the existing facility. For historic reasons of financing and healthcare reimbursement, we have to have these on two different lots, and two affiliated entities from the sisters corporate organization own that. So we're in effect asking for a variance for ourselves here. There is no true third party who is impacted by this side yard variance. We are the two parties involved, but for financing and other reasons, we need to keep them in separate lots and in affiliated entities. In terms of meeting the requirements for the variance, this project, as we can get into more detail in this presentation, will enhance the public good by continuing and, in effect, expanding a vital community health care facility with this transitional care unit, with the hospice care. And the folks that are going to be served by this will be continuing to come from the Lowell community. I also want to note that we have submitted in your package, should be in your package, various letters of support from various other institutions.
Right, and it might be a good time now if I could just briefly interrupt you. Just I'll read,
Please.
I won't read them into the record, but I'll acknowledge that we do, and they'll be part of the public record. But we do have a letter from Saints Medical Center signed by the Chief Operating Officer, Judith Casagrande, saying she's pleased to support this entire project. We next have a letter from Lowell General Hospital from Norman Duchesne, saying that he's pleased to support this project as well. And finally, we have another letter from the Visiting Nurses Association of Greater Lowell, signed by Executive Director Nancy Pettinelli, also writing that she supports this project as well. So that will become part of the public record. If anybody wishes to view those letters, they will be in the file.
Appreciate that, and we also obviously have the letter that we submitted to the planning board that resulted in their recommendation that went through this process. I also want to note that before we even stepped foot here and met with the planning board, we had 2 meetings with the Pawtucketville Civic Association. They were very helpful, good give and take. I know there's some members of that association here tonight. But we felt that was the place to start. We've been a member in the community for many years. I'm sure many of you know we now have that new park out front of our facility, which I think not only members of our community, but generally the community are enjoying. So I want to step aside, briefly just go over, have the engineer go over the zoning compliance plan, and then provide time for our architect to give you an overview of the project, just so you can see the big picture, even though tonight we're actually asking for a fairly narrow piece of relief. John and Phil.
Good evening. John Noonan with Noonan McDowell, our land surveyors and civil engineers in Billerica, Massachusetts. And what we're proposing to do is to work within two existing parcels that the sisters own. One of them to the east has Duville Senior Care, which currently now has a variance 4-0 lot line on its eastern side, right in this location here where it connects to its Briar Gardens. And the sisters' residence, St. Joseph's, where the sisters occupy back here, is the other parcel. Both parcels are outlined in blue. This dash blue line represents the existing boundary line that we're proposing to eliminate and create a third parcel between the two. So the green outlines what will be the third parcel. This parcel, along with the existing parcels, will still have the required frontage and area required by zoning. And in order for us to make a connection, this is where we're connecting through and where we would need the 0 lot line variance to make this connection. And here it's basically similar to what happened here with the existing campus. They need to create these parcels for financing purposes for construction in order for them to go ahead with each phase that they've been going through. And this is just the next phase with respect to the campus. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. You thank us for our patience, but we thank you for taking us in a sequence somewhat different than is what customary for Lowell and hearing us this evening. My name is Philip Dowds. I'm project manager for Levi Wong Design Associates, offices at 45 Walden Street in Concord. And I think it's clear that we will be back in front of you later with a longer presentation and more elaborate drawings, having finished with site plan review and approval at Planning Board, looking for a special permit. So you will see us again, and we will speak at greater length. I'm going to go through this very quickly now. I'm not going to try to do a long presentation. If I go too fast, feel free to flag me down and ask questions, but this will give you a very rough idea of what the project's about. This is an aerial view of the Duville campus. Varnum Ave runs pretty much through the middle of the picture. South is that direction. And the property owned by Duville Senior Care starts along a broad frontage on Varnum Ave and moves way back off this photograph. The project in question, John just showed you a site plan. What this aerial view shows you is all of the buildings that currently exist. And in yellow right here is a building, a two-story building of floor plate of a little over 25,000 square feet, building floor area in 2 stories, a little over 50,000 square feet, which is attached and joined to the existing building at the point where we are drawing the new lot line and need side yard variances for each of the 2 buildings. From an operational standpoint, the new construction here shown in yellow will be sharing certain kinds of services with the larger facility, existing facility of Duville Senior Care. We must have that physical connection for passage of food and laundry in a couple different directions. So there is, although there is a financial separation, there is a physical and functional connection, which is why the 2 buildings must touch and join at that area. This will drop right on the existing driveway. We'll be building a new drive up around the hill and back down here. One of the important things to understand about this building is that it does fit into the flank of an existing hill. So in its 2 stories, the upper story actually ties to the upper story of Duville Senior Care, ties to grade here. The lower story is exposed to courtyards on this side. This offers you a slightly larger view of what is intended here, showing more clearly the driveway, the parking, which will be well in excess of calculated requirements, and a system of new courtyards that will be serving various parts of the occupancy at the new building. Again, the new entrance is on the high side with exposure on the low side facing the two-story Duville building. Sorry? Yeah. Okay. Paul was asking me to make yet more clear what's going on with this hill here. This area, this is a blow-up of what we call the main floor plan, which is the upper floor plan. It actually ties into the second floor of the existing building, which is just barely visible along this edge. The existing driveway goes through here, and starting right about here, there's an appreciable hill flanking the site. Those of you who know the Duville property have probably seen it. That hill, in fact, continues not only beyond the main entrance here at the front door, but goes up even a bit higher. So this whole property is kind of screened from view from whatever is over here by the rise in the land. And that's why this floor ties sort of midway up the hill, and the lower floor opens to grade on this side. We said that on the upper floor we have a transitional care unit plus hospice. There are 4 large hospice bedrooms in this area, main entrance here, and 29 other single and double occupancy rooms in these 2 wings. What actually fronts on Varnum, right here, is the rehab gymnasium for OT and PT therapies for a typical length of stay from 2 to 3 weeks. From the main lobby, and I won't get into the ground floor plan right now, we can do that some other time, but from the main lobby there's an elevator and a stair which goes down to other uses. There is a kitchen here. There is a smaller transitional care unit of 21 or 22 beds in this area. There are some staff and service spaces through here. That's how the building is organized, and it ties to the existing building right here at both the second floor and the first floor levels. Last but not least, these are pictures of existing and proposed conditions along Varnum Ave. Right now, in fact, the 2-story nursing home in this area is almost fully concealed by trees. If we proceed with this project, this building will sit on the existing driveway. A new driveway, which you can just begin to see in this picture, goes up and around to the new main entrance, and that will be the approximate appearance of what faces Varnum Ave. The vast majority of this building extends back into the lot and will not be seen from Varnum Ave. It will just have a narrow frontage featuring the rehab gym in that area. That is basically the project. I'm happy to answer any questions, or we can move along at this point.
No, I think that you made it very clear and concise, so I think, does anybody have any questions for the applicant?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to just address the parking real quick if I could now. So what do you have for parking currently, and what are we adding? Because, you know, you're going to be adding on more staff, more patients, obviously, and visitors. There's a lot of things involved, so what's the story there, may I ask?
We have done a parking calculation. John, I believe you have done that as part of your site plan preparation, and the requirement applicable to this addition is?
Never parking spectrum, you want to say?
No, go ahead.
It's 18 with the regular 7.
The requirement being 3 spaces per bed that's applicable to this site. 3 spaces per bed is the requirement. We're actually drawing and including 47 spaces so that the parking provided matches what the owner foresees as true operating conditions, not just code minimum.
So it will exceed the code? Is that what you're
Yes.
saying? Okay.
18 is the code, we're providing 47.
Okay.
Okay?
Anything else, Corey?
That's it, Mr. Chairman.
Rick, anything?
Nothing, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else, council? Okay, anybody here wishing to speak in favor of this petition, in favor?
My name is still John Hamblett, 495 Varnum Avenue, speaking on behalf of citizens of Pawtucketville. The CEO of Duville Manor, Naomi Prendergast, who's present today, was a 3-year member of the original planning process that wrote the Pawtucketville Master Plan. She is acutely aware of the concerns of the Pawtucketville citizens. Duville has met with Pawtucketville Citizens Council on several occasions for vigorous debate on a variety of issues, including design, traffic impact, and use. Our concerns have been addressed. We look forward to continuing discussing this project with Duville, and we ask that you approve their variance. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else wishing to speak in favor of this petition?
I'm Naomi Prendergast, the President and CEO of Duville Senior Care. I think you've heard the full scope of our project. I just really want to make sure that people understand that the bulk of the beds that we will be putting into service came from our purchase from the Lowell General Hospital transitional care beds that they shut down. At this point, it's close to, I believe, 3 years ago. And the Department of Public Health in particular was very glad that the beds were not only staying in Lowell and in fact on the same street, but also were being transferred from one nonprofit to another nonprofit. And so this project gives us the opportunity to continue to serve the seniors in Lowell with the transitional care, which is short-term rehab services and also hospice care. So we very much appreciate the support that you give us and the support of the community. We pride ourselves on being a good neighbor, and through our visits to the Pawtucketville Citizens Group, we believe that we've integrated their thoughts in with our design, and so we look forward to your approval. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anybody else wishing to speak in favor? Sir?
My name is Richard Souza. I live at 101 Ursula Street. I've been a member of Pawtucketville for all of my 42 married years. I was a member of the committee that John Hamlet spoke about, and I can attest to Naomi Prendergast knowing problems that we have in Pawtucketville, and she addressed everything she can in this particular plan. Duville Manor has always been a good neighbor to us, and I believe they always will. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else wishing to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? Okay, hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Anybody wishing to speak in opposition to this petition? In opposition, and seeing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. We'll open up to the board for consideration. Bill?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one quick comment. If I consider the footprint of this project, the breadth of the project, and also the benefits that are to be derived versus the relief that the petitioner is seeking, they certainly don't add up in my mind, and I think this is a win-win for the city, and I strongly endorse the petitioner's actions tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. And Jack?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I think it's exciting to think that the Sisters of Ottawa and the Duville Senior Care are approaching their 50th year providing service to this community. And they've had the foresight and awareness to recognize that they need to provide additional services as the demographic of the baby boomers become older, and to provide the additional service of short-term rehab and hospice, in addition to the fine service that they already provide, is terrific. I totally support this project and am excited about the impact, positive impact it'll have on the community. Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. And Corey?
Yes, to you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I'd like to echo Mr. Knox's comments. Duval Manor always has been a great participant in the city of Lowell. Not just, it extends further than Varnum Avenue, it extends throughout the city, in my mind. And this is definitely an enhancement to the neighborhood, and more importantly, it's enhancing the lives of some elderly and handicapped residents above all. And as my other board members stated, I'm unanimously in support of this. Thank you.
Thanks, Corey. Rick?
No comments, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. I need a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, Stephanie?
Approve.
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 Okay, so you've been unanimously approved. You just need to come up and sign one plan, and you can hand it over to Stephanie. And good luck with your project. We'll see you in a few months, I guess.
Thank you so much, Board. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good luck throughout the way.
Yeah, you can just sign it and date it. Thanks a lot. Good job. Thank you. Okay, do we have any other business, Mr. Clerk?
No, Mr. Chairman, we do not. So with that being said, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor? I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All any opposed? No. Meeting adjourned.